Hey everybody, this is DM Mike, and today is not a campaign diary. We have another week before we play that. It is July 13th, that's the time I'm recording this, and we still have another week out before we actually go into session. I think it's session 4. I think that's right, session 4. And in session 4, we're going to end chapter 1 and then go right into chapter 2, and who knows how long that's going to take. But in the spirit of ending chapter 1, I kind of wanted to just do a quick video about the things I learned. Things I learned about chapter 1. And hopefully these are hints and things that'll help you. There is just a lot of crap to forget in chapter 1. There's just so much stuff going on, and I think it's perfectly reasonable that you do, that you're going to forget some stuff. For instance, did not do the rat encounter. I did not do the Sallyport encounter, mainly because of how we ended on our last session, which was this big crescendo of them attacking the dragon and hitting the dragon. And I felt like, well, that's a really big high. Why would I take that and go like, okay, now the Sallyport's being attacked? That didn't feel right. So there is some things left in chapter 1. There's one last thing I want to do. These are hopefully things I think can help you to remember, or just kind of keep in mind as you're playing chapter 1. There's only 8 of these, not 10, because 10's too much work. So 8, I'm doing. And my first one is environmental. Now, I think this is something that depends on how you've set the mood. What's the atmosphere in Greenest? I mean, in the book, it just talks about it's night, and there's smoke, of course, coming from the fires, and there's a half moon. So, you have dim lighting. Now, I've got all that. I got all that in spades. But I decided, a thunderstorm, I think, makes it a little more dramatic. It adds a lot more ambiance to the piece. And again, I'm a DM who likes to play music, not all the time, but I do have particular bits of music that's dedicated to battles. And I didn't want to have music playing, because it would have been 3 sessions straight of nothing but music, and to me that's too much. It's too tedious. So what I did instead was create some ambiance that sounded like battles and buildings being destroyed, and that audio drama was 25 minutes long, and it would repeat, and it just sounds like war going on. Swords going, shields raising, the dragon every once in a while flooping through, flying through. Flooping, that's a new adjective for flying. Or verb maybe. But just that's what I went with. But environmental, I think it's best to keep in mind all the smoke and the fog and whatnot that's occurring in Greenest, through the streets, around the houses, near the sanctuary, near the keep, all this stuff, to kind of blur the vision and cut down on the range of some of your ranged characters. I kind of wish I would have taken just a little bit more advantage of that, because I really didn't think about it until we got to the sanctuary and all hell broke loose, and they tried to get in and then retreated. But when they retreated, they wanted to shoot long range into the sanctuary, and after like the 3rd session, 2 of which were in Greenest, that's when I remembered. I was like, oh yeah, the smoke and everything. Now of course I put that in there when they were doing perception checks, and sometimes enemy groups would completely pass them because they failed a perception check because of all the smoke. But just keep that in mind with however you run Greenest, a thunderstorm or just a summer night. Take advantage of the smoke and the mist or maybe fog that's rolled in. I think there's a lot of things you can do atmospherically that can kind of, in some way sabotage some of those ranged characters, because sometimes ranged characters, well, hell, they're ranged, and a lot of times they don't take a lot of hits. So just keep that in mind. 2, the Sanctuary. Now, if you read my campaign diary, or not read it because I have not written anything, watch the campaign diary. My characters did get caught up in trying to find some kind of artifact in the Sanctuary. And you know what? It was in the moment that I thought, hey, that makes perfect sense. I cannot believe I didn't put anything in there. So I don't have any tips for like the mill, because that's just not they didn't go that direction. They chose the Sanctuary. But as a piece of advice, put something in the Sanctuary. Put a relic of some kind. Remember, this town was founded by a dwarf, and it might be kind of cool to have some kind of dwarven relic inside the Sanctuary. Maybe one of the enemies got it. Maybe they're fighting over it when the heroes come in. Something to that effect. But do a little research, or like I had to, shoot from the hip and make something up. It did work in the moment, but my characters did kind of get caught up in that, and that's not in the book. There's nothing there technically. I mean, it really in the universe there is, of course, right, the gold, and I've talked about this in my other videos, but I would encourage you, put a statue in there, put a relic, put something that's several relics, maybe one that's special and very valuable, because I don't know, that may quell the problem that I had for you. So it's like a smooth thing. They get in there and they kind of see exactly what this enemy is going after. All right, so that's the Sanctuary. Okay, enemy groups. I have noticed. Well, this kind of goes in. I think I'm looking at notes here because I don't have a teleprompter, which I wish I had. Enemy groups. I think people have talked about this probably in Reddit forums or whatever about this particular adventure. There are a hell of a lot of groups. There are random tables you're supposed to roll on to create some of these groups, and I did some of them, but I found quickly that it's just too much. No matter, I think, almost what level they go in, it's a lot of groups and it's impossible. So don't get hung up on running all those groups. It's just too much. Next is HP. If you're starting your characters, if your characters are coming in, I guess, at level 3 or higher, immediately, and this is not, maybe you're new, maybe you're DMing for the first time, this is your first book adventure, raise the HP of your enemies. I mean, it's just, maybe it sounds like, duh, but at first I did not do that. All right. And it sounds like, well, Mike, that was really stupid. Well, here's the thing. Kobolds and pack tactics, man, they can swarm. They can swarm and overwhelm a party pretty darn quickly. And even at, I think they have like 8 hit points, 8 or 10, something like that. And if you maneuver them correctly, which I didn't half the time, I was just so busy trying to keep track of everything, they can overwhelm a party pretty quickly. But, you know, maybe it's just me because I'm a bad strategy DM and I'm getting better at this. I found that at level 3 and I had 5 players, yeah, my enemies needed more HP. They really did. I didn't mess too much with the armor classes, but definitely HP up. And of course, if you're using mercenaries like I did raise the AC a little bit just to, you know, have a little bit of a challenge here. All right, so HP. Maps, let's go to that. Maps is my next one. I've already complained about this. Not enough maps. There's not enough maps in this adventure. So I would encourage you to go online and search for Hoard of the Dragon Queen maps. You will find plenty of fan-made maps that work really well. If you've seen some of my tabletop simulator vids, I actually used those 2D maps and plopped them right in, and they were perfect. And again, you don't have to do the 3D embellishments that I did. The Sanctuary map, the ones I specifically found were the Sanctuary. I found the one about the mill, and actually there was like 2 or 3 more that actually were like zoomed in on the city itself of Greenest, like just a couple houses here and there, and it was very dark and there was fire. I think that's also in my first campaign diary when I showed some screenshots. I just kind of came across those. I don't even remember how I did it because it was like back in February of this year. But I think, you know, you type in Hoard Dragon Queen maps and you'll find them. And I would totally encourage you to go on Blando, I hope that's his name, and purchase all the maps. You can get them in a bundle, and they work great for printing or if you're doing virtual tabletop. Go ahead and do that. Definitely get the maps. And I think my last thing here, because I can't read my Japanese handwriting, okay, so I put down here additional quest. This is up in the air. I think it's just a matter of taste. 50-50. I felt going into Greenest, as the book talks about, just on a caravan. The book immediately starts, oh, you're in a caravan, and now you roll up right to a city being under attack. A little anticlimactic for me, even though it's an attack. And I'm sure people have started the adventure and they're fine with it. But I would recommend that put a prologue on there. Put a prologue for your characters, so they have a reason to go to Greenest. All right, they something to kind of get them from point A to point B. I did a prologue. It was about 3-4 hours long. I know that's more work, but I think in the long run, it's beneficial. And I won't get into the adventure that I tacked on. I mean, who cares, right? We're all going to do something different. But that's my suggestion, is that maybe you try to tack on something just at the beginning. It doesn't have to be 4 hours. It could be 2 hours. It could be maybe them just meeting in the tavern and setting up a deal to go on this caravan to Greenest and kind of guard it along the way. Maybe there's an encounter there somewhere in the wilderness, and then finally they camp overnight and they appear there. I mean, that's pretty simple stuff. But I would encourage that just to prevent that. I feel like it's just anticlimactic beginning, even though I know it sounds really bombastic with what happens. I think it helps. I think it helps in the long run. And lastly, I put down here, I didn't know this until I started doing research on Hoard of the Dragon Queen much later. There is a supplement on the D&D website, Wizards of the Coast website, for this campaign I think some people just don't know about it. It's there. I recommend download it. It's a PDF, and I can't remember how many pages, maybe about 20 pages, and it has all the enemies in there. Instead of going through the monster manual and trying to figure out and lay everything out, it has them all in there. I think it does have the NPCs, but I could be wrong with that because I think they are actually in the book. But I had it printed, spiral bound from Staples, and it's a good, solid book, and I reference it so far every session. So I'd recommend that. So, you know, you hear my paper rattling like I'm on radio. So let's just recap here. Environment. Don't forget about that smoke and mist, however you set it up. The sanctuary. Put a relic. Put something in there. Maybe even a sarcophagus of a bishop of some kind that maybe there's jewels on him that are valuable, that the sanctuary, that the cultists are going after. The groups. There's a lot of groups. Look, roll up a few, but don't use them all. It's too much work. It's kind of ridiculous, actually. It's too much to deal with. So just lower the group level. I guess the next one, HP. Kick up the HP. If your character is starting level 3 or higher, just do it. I mean, you can also, I think, increase AC as well. That's pretty simple to do. Either or both. The maps, not enough maps, but you will easily find all the fan-made maps you need for this. And then, of course, go to Blando and purchase the bundled set he has, and it'll work perfectly for you. And I think of additional quest that's kind of up in the air for you, to get them some kind of prologue, to get them to greenest, something that happens on the front end, so they're not just running headlong into a battle, into a city that they just arrived at. And lastly is that Hoard of the Dragon Queen D&D supplement that Wizards of the Coast released. It is available. It's still available. It's PDF. Print it out, and you'll be using that thing throughout the whole adventure. All right, so that's it, guys. That's all I have. I'm not sure how many graphics I will put up. I'm not sure how much stuff I have to do that, but that's it. That's all I have for now. And next week, of course, will be probably another look at some maps, and maybe, of course, the next campaign diary that's coming up. If you guys have any other tips, please, if you're watching the video and say, hey, I know, I thought of, well, hell, put it in the comments, so people who are like me approaching Hoard of the Dragon Queen for the first time, you know, can get some more hints and kind of declutter that first chapter, because it's pretty brutal. It's a challenge to run. So, all right, guys, that's it. That's all I got. I'll see you in the next video. Oops, looks like there's actually 7, not 8 tips. I guess I only learned 7 things during the entire session. So, there you go. Yeah, sorry about that. This is why I'm not a good strategist or an accountant. Go figure. Thanks, guys.